Would you talk about how you got started in music and which one of your many multifaceted instruments that you started with?
Sure, sure. So I started playing flute when I was 9. That was like my first instrument. Um, my mom was like a big Prince fan, so like he was like a big influence of mine. So like I would, when I eventually learned how to like make a sound on flute, because it's like super hard to start that instrument. I mean, obviously horn is like even harder, but it's just like, I know people that are just like, I just can't get a sound. That's just it. I just can't do it. Like so I struggled a little bit, but then after I got it, I just started like mimicking the things that were around me at home and stuff. So fast forward to 11, I started playing horn. And I was like basically self-taught because my teacher was a bassoon player. And so it was just kind of like, here's the instrument, here's one of those little essential element books, and get the fingerings down and see what you can do. So I didn't actually get any like formal, like training until I got into undergrad. And that's when me and Lauren met. Um, but even throughout high school, I was just kind of like a jack of all trades kind of thing, because like I wanted to start to composing and arranging for the instruments that were like, I had access to. So, I picked up trumpet, I picked up a tuba, I was starting playing trombone in jazz band, and so then I learned that, the woodwind fingerings are basically almost the same, or like, very similar in a sense. So it's just like I was just picking up all these things, and then also like simultaneously learning the language of all those instruments. So, like the transpositions and things like that. And see, I didn't even know that years later that being a French horn player, you literally have to transpose in like all 12 keys. So it was just like, dude, they were just like, oh, you have to play a B flat part. I'm like, psh, that's like a clarinet part. I'm like, like I was making all these connections at a like young age, and it was crazy kind of how it kind of foreshadowed my future. But so yeah, so flute and horn, and I got into undergrad. I was playing in jazz band for a short amount of time, but actually started out as a flute major. But then my grandmother passed, and she was like a big connection to me, like with flute and everything. And so I was just like, I auditioned on like flute, horn, and euphonium, and I got into all three of the schools or whatever. So I'm just like, let me see if Slocum will take me, because he kind of accepted me. But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pick flute after, because you have to pick one. And so, I ended up going back to horn, and I started studying with Bill Slocum, and it was like just a life changing experience. And I'm like, you know what? Like, flute is cute, that's nice, but I really want to be serious with this instrument, just because I just feel like the opportunities would just be like, I mean, I always say like there's like 100 million like flute players and like maybe 50,000 really good horn players. You know what I mean? So it's just like your chances of like not only just making money, but just like actually me doing something with the instrument that's gonna stand out as like me. I'm like, I think I could do something with this, especially like with my background with like, R&B and, hip hop and like funk music and stuff. I'm like, I don't really see anybody actually taking like these Western European instruments and then taking them into that context. I mean, like saxophone is kind of like interchangeable, flute interchangeable, but like horn just does not seem like, well, it hasn't seemed in the past that it was like interchangeable in between the classical and the jazz worlds. And so I was like, this might be the thing that could be my thing, And so not only did I want to go into jazz, but I wanted to go into like R&B, because honestly, I grew up around like more so like R&B, hip hop, funk, that kind of thing. And so jazz is like a like very advanced version of all of those things. And that's what I'm studying now at Montclair State University, to actually learn the language. But, R&B, pop music, that's always been my thing. So I just had an idea of I wanted to bring that world into the classical world and kind of like mush them together. And it's gotten me a lot of attention as like just a French horn player trying to do, well, just doing these things. It's been a thing. So yeah, and here we are today, just trying to do it.